schedule that I had some titles. Preach on? Okay. And I saw this one, addictions. I said, I never heard of that in my life. I never preached on addictions. I mean, I know why they give me that topic, all right. But I never preached on addiction. That's not biblical. And I said, boy, I'm going to have to, pray a little bit here and see how that's biblical, how I'm going to do that. I would like to preach on biblical things. I'm supposed to be a preacher of the Catholic faith. And so let me begin with the gospel. Let me begin by reading to you from the Gospel of John. This is probably the verse that I read maybe the most often in preaching. Kind of a fundamental passage that could even mark my preaching. Jesus then said to the Jews who had believed in him, if you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And they said to him, we are descendants of Abraham and have never been in bondage to anyone. How is it that you can say you will be made free? And Jesus answered them, truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. The slave does not continue in the house forever. The Son continues forever. So if the Son makes you free, you will be free indeed. That's where I'm going to start my talk about addictions. I am not eminently qualified to give a talk on addictions, on addictive behavior. I am not a psychologist. I am not a substance abuse counselor. I don't have any degrees in those things. I'm not a sociologist, and I don't deal with those problems on a day-to-day basis, even pastorally, as a priest. So I am singularly unqualified to give this talk. That's the official word. Now here's the unofficial word. I've been there and done that. And from that basis, I'm a little bit qualified. Maybe not a whole lot, but a little bit. Addictions. We have addictions from one end to the other. Our country, our world, has been enslaved. Now, there are a lot of obvious addictions. People are addicted to alcohol. People are addicted to all kinds of drugs, some of them legal, some of them not legal. People are addicted to gambling. People are addicted to pornography. People are addicted to television. People are addicted to computers. People are addicted to women. People are addicted to men. People are addicted to just about anything you can imagine. What is addiction, though? Once again, I'm not qualified to give a technical talk. But you didn't come here to get you a technical talk. You came here to listen to me and see what I have to say about it. Because some of you know where I've been. I was not, unfortunately, and I mean it, unfortunately, I was not one of those people who was born an altar boy, went to the seminary at the age of 14, and was good all his life, got ordained, and then was a good priest. I wish that I were such a preacher. But you know very well, I was not and am not. Well, God has his plan, and it's different for every one of us. Addictions involves compulsion, involves habit, involves vice, involves that which is the opposite of a virtue, which is power. This is a talk about power. This is a talk about power and the loss of power. This is a talk about how souls, good souls, all of them are good. God creates every one of them. They've got to be good. for they come from God, who is goodness itself. But this is about souls who lose their freedom. This is about good people, decent people, all of them starting out innocent, for all were once babes, who go to dark places, who go to places you maybe just don't want to know about. I have been to places you can't even fathom. I have seen things you don't ever want to see. I remember nights that were so long that eternity seemed small in comparison. I have been to places where pain is the master. Satan is the master. I have been to those places. I have been to crack houses. I have been to drug-infested inner-city bastions of evil, where souls are held captive, where they aren't free. Do you know what freedom is? I got to talk about freedom if I'm talking about addiction. Freedom is related to truth. Jesus said, if you are truly my disciples, you will abide in my word, you will obey my commandments, then you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. There is a link, an indissoluble link between truth and freedom. You've got to abide in God's word, which is the truth. That'll liberate you. What is freedom? Now, we live in a free country. We're going to have elections on Tuesday, presidential elections. That's a great thing. That's a wonderful benefit we have, a blessing we have, to live in a free country. And if I ask the average person, what's freedom? The average person probably say, well, being able to do what I want to do. Sounds good? No cigar. Wrong. Because if freedom is being able to do whatever you want to do, as I've often said, I will get Barb to come up here, finish my talk. I'll go out in the parking lot and peruse this northern Michigan parking lot for a nice four-wheel drive truck, which I like, and I will drive it home to California. And I will take me some hunting and fishing excursions in it. You say, you can't do that. I said, why not? It's a free country, isn't it? Don't I have a right to go out there and choose? I have a right to choose which one I want? You trying to take away my freedom, you communists? Well, that's nonsense, you say. You can't do that. Well, worse than that, what if I had some kind of a mental lapse and I went back to about the age of 19, when the Vietnam War was going on and I was in the Army, and having just completed all my training and being an expert in small arms, one of you didn't like what I had to say. And I got out my light iron tank weapon, my law, and laid down the law and fired one right at you, and you disappeared in a cloud of blue smoke. After all, it is a free country. And freedom, isn't that being able to do whatever you want to do? No. As we've said before more than once, freedom has limits. And the limits are laid down by God. Now, a lot of people confuse freedom with license. You know the difference between freedom and license. We live in a free country. I have the freedom to choose, the right to choose, but you don't have the right to choose evil, though. Hold on. Do you have the right to choose evil? No. You have the ability to choose evil, but you don't have the moral right to choose evil. No one does. There are dire consequences in that. And they begin to confuse realities here. Freedom and license are profoundly different things. Just as I told you before about tolerance and permissiveness. They are very different things. Tolerance Yes, you must tolerate the good. A wide spectrum of goods. Anything good, we've got to tolerate it. You know, different races, different religions, different languages, all kinds of different things. They're all good. And we've got to be tolerant. You know, you may not like rock music. Now that's a bad example. You may not like Gregorian chant in church music. Shame on you. But you may your cup of tea may be something else. You know, you may like more contemporary Christian music. And as long as it is, in fact, good music, that's fine. Okay. Somebody's spirituality might be Franciscan. Somebody else might be Benedictine. Somebody else's might be Carmelite. That's all good. We have to tolerate all those goods. But I don't have to tolerate evil. If I begin to, quote, tolerate evil, that isn't tolerance at all. That's permissiveness. And we live in a permissive society. The permissive parent. I'll never forget a friend of mine, my classmate, Father Tony Anderson, told me a story. His dad's a Superior Court judge in Arizona. And one time they went to visit friends of the family. And his dad's a judge and his friend's a lawyer. And so the kids go in the back room while the parents are in the living room talking. And the two sons of the lawyer friend, they light up a joint and smoke some marijuana. And so my friend and his brother then said, "What are you guys doing? You can't do that. Your dad's out in the front room there. If he smells that, he's going to kill you." "Oh, no, he lets us do it." And then, of course, the boys, they came and told their dad, the judge. And he went to his friend, the lawyer, and said, "Do you let your kids smoke marijuana?" And he was embarrassed by it. He says, "Well, I want to be tolerant. I don't want to impede their joy. The only thing I can think of is my Italian grandmother, and she would have gone like this, impede their joy. I'll impede their joy." You know what that is? Tolerance? That's not tolerance. That's permissiveness. You understand the difference? And so, freedom? Yes. License? No. Now, what leads to the loss of freedom? God's created us with a free will and an intellect. They're meant to be used. But you can lose your freedom. How do you lose your freedom? By abusing your freedom. That's how you can lose your freedom. And that's good advice for an individual human being, and that's good advice for a country. You can lose your freedom by abusing your freedom. Freedom has to operate inside the circumference of the good. I choose things which are inside the parameters of the good. Once I step outside that, I go out of the light into the darkness. And I begin to lose my grip on freedom. But what is freedom if it's not being able to do what you want to do? Freedom is power. Freedom is the power to do not whatever I want to do, but to do what I ought to do. And what should I do? I ought to love God, know God, and serve God with my whole heart, mind, and strength. But you've got to be free to do that. It takes a free person, a liberated person, to do what is right and just. You've got to be free to love God. You can't be shackled and love God with your whole heart, mind, and strength. You've got to be free in order to act in accordance with right reason. Now, today, we have an age of addiction. Today, we live in a world that has been invaded by the forces of darkness. We have addictions from A to Z. We have intemperate behavior. We can't seem to control ourselves. We go off the deep end. A little bit isn't enough. We want more and more and more, and I don't care if it's cocaine or cash. We tend to go to extremes. Now that is part of our fallen nature. We have a tendency towards sin. We have a tendency to go too far with things. We have a tendency not to be well balanced, not to act in accordance with right reason. I remember one night in Hollywood, I was at a birthday party in the Hollywood Hills. A comedian named John Belushi was there, and I won't mention any other names but that, but there were many movie stars, rock stars there, well-known people. I remember I talked with some of them. Of course, earlier the next morning, John Belushi would die. His addiction killed him. These people I knew were not street people. They were doctors. They were lawyers. They were musicians, movie stars. One professional football player who also died not long after that. Honestly, when I was at the height of my worldly success, this happened. I walked into my doctor's office, my physician, for a checkup. We talked. We were cordial. He was a man around 60. It was Friday afternoon, Los Angeles, in the late 1970s. Everyone was prosperous. The economy was going well. Some of us were making big bucks. And everybody was looking to party. Friday came, that's what you did. The doctor, when he finished, said, "Hey, so you want to relax for a while?" Okay, he takes a mirror out of his desk with a little pile of cocaine on it. That's a different kind of prescription. Prescription for death. Another time I went to see my lawyer. Same thing. Another time I went to see my accountant. Same thing. Another time I was at a restaurant with a group of people on our way to a concert. And somebody, feeling stupid, took out a mirror, put cocaine on the table, and people started doing it, and in walks two cops. And they smiled, said, "Mind if we do a little?" My last year in Los Angeles, 12 people I knew died from drugs. Heart attacks caused by cocaine. Suicide. Because what goes up must come down, and sometimes it comes down hard. Very hard. I remember going on for days. You see, the difference between street people that's smoking crack and the kind of people I knew and the kind of people I was that we had enough money to kill ourselves fast. The poorer people, they kill themselves slow, because they don't have enough money normally to do it all at once. We had more than enough money to go up in a puff of smoke in one binge. I have watched 14, 15-year-old children die miserable deaths because of it. I have seen intelligent people, educated people, brilliant people. I know a Beverly Hills physician who ended up homeless and in the street, panhandling for change so he could get a hit of crack. It doesn't discriminate. Addiction is an equal opportunity employer. Addiction doesn't care if you're white or black, red or yellow. Addiction doesn't care what your religion is, doesn't care where you started, but it doesn't care about where you end. And it's always bad if you don't get out of it. But why do people become slaves? in the very name of freedom. Why do we become absolute slaves of some horrible thing and say, but I want to be free, I want to be me. I got to do whatever I want to do. If I want to hit that pipe, I'm going to do it. If I want to smoke that joint, I'm going to do it. I want to take that drink, I'm going to do that. I want to get that pornography, I'm going to do that. I want to spend the rent money on gambling, I'm going to do that. I got to be free. And you become a slave. And Satan is a very cruel master. Make no mistake about it. Many a long, cold, hard night, I was up with people who should have known better. We were intelligent. We were educated. I was a good kid. Grew up in a small town, never did anything wrong. I went to college. I served my country in the military, received an honorable discharge, and tried to do everything right. I was just like everybody else. I went the way most people went. I was a product of the 60s. You know, the rebellious generation. That time when we had to be free, had to be me. And gradually freedom slipped away. Sin sickens. Jesus, eternal truth, said, the man who sins becomes the slave of sin. And if you want a biblical text to meditate on and to work with concerning addiction, there it is. The man who sins becomes the slave of sin. One time a young man said to me, now, Father, it says in the Bible that everything is good, that God did not create anything evil, that even all drugs are good. And it does say that, by the way. He said, so, and nothing wrong with me smoking some reefer or snorting some cocaine. Because it says in the Bible, all things God created are good. There's not a harmful drug in creation. What you got to say to that? The kid wasn't stupid. He was pretty smart, but not smart enough. I said, that's right, it says that, but you know what it means. He says, no. I said, you know what they use cocaine for? In the beginning, they used it for delicate eye surgery because it dulls the reflex to blink. Is that bad? No, that's good. That's a legitimate use. That's called the use, the legitimate use of something in creation. Gasoline isn't bad. It runs things, make motors go, right? Don't you drink a gallon of it. Use it, don't abuse it. There's a difference. What happens, though? The roots of addiction. What are the roots of addiction? I don't know for sure. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I can only talk to you as someone who went to the dark side, lived there for a long time, lived through it, came back to the other side, and can now talk about it. Sadness. Great sadness. Defeatism, dejection, discouragement, despondency, and ultimately despair. Alcohol doesn't have to be bad. Jesus probably drank some wine. And so did the apostles. That night in Cana, maybe they drank quite a bit. They ran out. Somebody did. But it doesn't have to be bad. Many things in themselves are not in